Okay, welcome everybody. I imagine that people will continue to trickle in for the next few minutes. So this evening our topic is unlocking your potential. But many of the people here were here over the weekend where the topic was the 4 thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma. And I got through 1.5 of the 4. So I thought tonight to continue with that. And the people who are just coming now, that's fine. You'll be able to catch on and understand. It's not super difficult material. But I feel like I should say something about the title, Unlocking Your Potential. So it is named after this book, Unlocking Your Potential, and with the subtitle, How to Get Out of Your Own Way. Okay, so this little booklet we published with Corporate Body of the Buddha in Taiwan. And it's written by me and one inmate. And it was written specifically for people who are incarcerated in prison. At the Abbey, we do prison work. We write to people who are incarcerated. We send them Dharma books. We go into prisons and teach the Dharma. So it was written specifically for them. But I think it has to do with everybody, actually. Because there's not such a big difference between people who are in prison and the rest of us. Okay? Anybody here who's never broken a law? Okay, we just didn't get caught. Or the law we broke was not so big. Okay, but people in prison are just like the rest of us. And so this booklet, I think, is helpful for everybody. In writing it, okay, the inmate that I composed it with, he contributed some of the stories and the little quizzes and things like that, and suggested some topics for us to go into. And then I contributed these sets of questions. And there's many sets of questions in here, and they stem from the kind of discussion groups that we do at the Abbey, where we really try and get people to talk about what the Dharma means to them, and to talk about it in small groups, so that people really open up and think about the Dharma in a personal way, and talk about it openly with others, and then exchange ideas. Because many times people have been practicing, even for years and years, and they're stuck on something, and they've too shy to ask about it or whatever. It comes up in a discussion group, and then they find out, oh, there's lots of people who have that problem in their practice, and they also hear how other people are working with that difficulty. So it's quite good, to get people being real Dharma friends. And I say this because at some Dharma centers, people tell me, oh, lots of people come to the center, we meditate in silence, we listen to teachings, and then we leave. And nobody really talks to each other and becomes friends. So when new people come into the center, everybody's already being good Buddhists. And they don't even say hello to the new people or help them with the text or anything like that. So this is a way to get people, to really talk to each other and become friends and open up. Okay? I'll just tell you a little bit about the outline of this book. I don't think we have extra copies here, but you can get them from Corporate Body of the Buddha in Taiwan, and also it's online, okay? but I'm not telling a lot of people about that. Okay, so it starts out with an introduction, understanding your internal life, then a chapter that's quite a long chapter called Stinkin' Thinkin'. Okay? Because this is a lot of the guys who are imprisoned, they have different courses, and this is something they go into a lot. Stinkin' thinkin'. The way we think that is erroneous. And by thinking in an erroneous way, acting in inappropriate ways, and then winding up in prison. Okay? But the ways their stinking thinking is exactly like ours. So let me just tell you a little bit. We're going to try not to talk too much about this book and go on to what we're supposed to talk about. Okay, but black and white thinking. You ever think black and white? Yeah? No space in your mind for anything else. Exaggerating and minimalizing. So you exaggerate different aspects of a situation, or you ignore red flags that are right there, and then you really get yourself in a jam. Okay. So that one deals a lot with attachment, and we have much written about that. Then overgeneralizing, making sweeping statements. Then can't stand-itis. Can't stand it-itis. Okay? So this is when you have to do things you don't enjoy, and you tell yourself, I can't stand it. Yeah, you ever get that way? Yeah. No, you people are always so cooperative. Yeah. So can't stand-itis. Fact versus feeling. In other words, when we state as a fact something that is a feeling, or we state as a feeling something that is a statement. So, for example, I feel like you don't like me. Okay, now is that you don't like me a feeling? Really? Yeah, somebody doesn't like me is a feeling. No, it's a statement, isn't it? It's a thought. You feel happy, you feel sad. You don't feel like somebody doesn't like you. You think somebody doesn't like you. Okay? So it's important to identify those things as thoughts and then check up if those thoughts are accurate or not. Because lots of times our thoughts are totally inaccurate. This is what the Dharma teaches as well. Okay? We do that a lot. I feel like this is going to be so difficult. Really? Something being difficult is a feeling? No, it's a thought. You don't feel that, you think that. Is that thought true? Better investigate. Okay, labeling. Okay, another form of stinkin' thinking is we give everything a label, and as soon as we give it a label, we put it in a box and we don't think any more about it. This person is so biased. Okay? You put them in the bias box. That's all you ever see whenever you relate to them is their bias. Not to mention your bias in putting them in that box, which you don't see, but you see their bias, or what you think is their bias, but you're not sure. Okay. Filtering. Okay, where we select out certain details of the situation and ignore others. Do you ever do that? Sometimes when we really want something, or we really like somebody, we look only at the rosy side. We don't see the situation in a realistic way. Like somebody comes to you and they want you to join a business deal with them and investigate, they want you to invest in making pancakes in Hong Kong. And they talk to you, you know what pancakes are? Yeah. So they talk to you all about how, pancakes are going to be the biggest hit in Hong Kong. Everybody's going to buy it. This is going to be terrific. And you're thinking, well, I don't know. I've been to Hong Kong and I don't see a lot of pancakes. But this guy's so enthusiastic. They really want you to do this business deal. So you filter out the thoughts that you don't want to think about and say, okay, I invest $1 million in flipping pancakes. And you go, you open the store, start making the pancakes, 3 people come. Because actually, your hunch that pancakes was not going to be the thriller chiller in Hong Kong was right, but you ignored it because you let yourself be pressured. Okay, so that kind of thing. Unreal ideal. That is making impossible standards for ourselves. Which we do all the time, and as a result, we suffer a lot. Okay, we compare ourselves to others, we criticize ourselves, and so on. Okay, here's another stinking thinking. Tell me if you ever do this. Blame others and insist on being right. You don't do that, do you? No one here does that. We're nice people. I insist we are nice people. We never blame others. What are you talking about? Okay. And then control issues. Oh my goodness. Do you have control issues? Yeah, you want to control somebody? You want to control everybody but yourself. Yeah? 2 nights ago, when I was speaking at Pure Land, then, people were asking, raise their hand question, my friend has this problem, how do I help my friend? How am I supposed to know? I don't know your friend. My mother has this problem, how can I help my mother? I don't know your mother, And then, my pet dog has this problem, how do I help? And we want to help everybody else. And we ask questions, and we sincerely think that we're being so compassionate because we want to help these people because they're suffering. Our family members, our friends are suffering. And how do we help them? We're being so compassionate. And so we ask questions about that. And then you get somebody like me who says, you're asking about how to control everybody else. And you can't control them. The only person you can control is yourself. But you're not asking about how to control your own anger. So sometimes we couch, I want to control somebody. I want them to change. In fact, I'm insisting that they change. But we clothe it in, I'm trying to help them. But what's really happening is I am so sick and tired about the way they're acting that I want them to change. Yeah? Or I'm so worried about them and they don't listen to my advice. Can you tell me how to get them to change? But, you know, what does the Buddha teach us? Yeah? Does the Buddha teach us how to change other people? Yeah, Buddha teaches us how to change this one, because this is the only one that we can possibly control. But meanwhile, we try and control everybody else. Yeah? It's a good distraction, isn't it, when you don't want to look at yourself? And we all do it. So it's something we need to look at and try and change, because it's not going to get us very far. Okay, anyway, that's a little bit about this book. Okay, so I did my duty. I talked about the title of the talk. Okay, done. Now, we'll come back here. So the four thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma are precious human life, death and impermanence. What's the third one? Yeah, karma and its effects. Fourth one? The disadvantages of cyclic existence. Okay? So these are four topics that if we really explore them well, automatically our mind will want to practice the Dharma. Okay? So over the weekend we talked about our precious human life, which isn't every human life. It's a human life with all the conditions to be able to encounter the Dharma, practice it, meditate on it, and so on. And then we got into the topic of death and impermanence. We talked about the 9-point death meditation and the 10 innermost thoughts of the Kadampas. Okay, and we also talked about the purpose of meditating on death is to help us appreciate our life. It's not to make us afraid, yeah. Or if it makes us afraid, it should be afraid of dying without having practiced the Dharma, but not afraid of death itself. Okay? And then we didn't get to, there's one section that I wanted to talk about, which is different ways of seeing impermanence. Okay, so that is on page 206. This book is volume 2 of the Library of Wisdom and Compassion. So it's called The Foundation of Buddhist Practice. Yeah. And so it's by His Holiness and me. Okay, so gross and subtle impermanence. Yeah. So when we talk about conditioned phenomena being things that arise due to causes and conditions, then all those things have as their very nature impermanence, transience, instability. Okay? Because they arise due to causes, and the causal energy doesn't last long, then the result that the cause produces also doesn't last long. Okay? And so things are constantly changing. When we talk about gross impermanence, then we're talking about when the continuity of something ceases. So for example, when the table falls apart, yeah, when the building falls down, when somebody dies, yeah, all these are examples of gross impermanence. And gross impermanence we can see with our eyes, you know, things end, yeah. Subtle impermanence is much more difficult to understand because it means that things never remain the same, not even for the smallest moment. Okay? That something arising is simultaneous with its abiding and simultaneous with its ceasing. So it's not that something arises and comes into existence. It abides or endures for a certain period of time. And then some outer cause or condition comes and makes it disintegrate and fall apart. Okay? That might be true of gross impermanence. You know, the table arose, yeah, for it to cease, somebody has to come and chop it to bits or, you know, whatever. Okay? But within this object that looks so permanent and static and unchanging, in fact, the whole thing's changing in every nanosecond. Okay? And we all know from our, fourth grade science classes that if you even, if we could see the atoms here that compose this table, the atoms are changing. The electrons are buzzing around. And within this, the molecules themselves are moving around. We can't see all of that, but that change is going on. Okay? So every moment, things are arising, abiding, ceasing in the same moment. Okay? Now, what does that mean for our life in samsara? Okay? What do we want in our life? Yeah? We want stability, don't we? We want predictability. Yeah? Do you want predictability? Constancy? Security? Okay? That's what we want, and that gives us a sense of well-being. But the whole world we live in is changing in every split second. Nothing's remaining the same. So in fact, nothing is really permanent, is really stable, or secure, or predictable. Yeah, because it's changing. And that's its very nature. There's no way to stop the change. Okay? So it's not like, you push a button and then things start changing, and then you push it again and they stop changing. The very nature of our body, our mind, our life, the people we know, all of it is changing all the time. Okay? So when we speak about impermanence in Buddhism, it means that kind of change. When we talk about permanence, it means things that are static, that don't change moment to moment. Okay? When you look around this room, can you see anything that is not changing moment to moment? Okay? The things that are permanent, meaning they don't change moment to moment, are things that we conceptualize. For example, empty space. Empty space is the lack of obstructability. Yeah, that lack doesn't change. Yeah. Emptiness, the lack of inherent existence, is also permanent. Yeah. It's the lack of things existing in a certain way. That doesn't change. Okay? But the thing itself does change. So permanent and impermanent are different than our usual English meanings when we talk about Buddhism. Okay? Usually, impermanent, or put it this way, permanent means it lasts and it never ends. That's not the meaning of permanent in Buddhism. Something can be eternal, which means it doesn't end, And it can also be impermanent, like our mind stream. Our mind stream never ends, but it's changing moment by moment. Okay? Something can be permanent, but not be eternal. For example, the emptiness of the book. The emptiness of the book lasts as long as the book lasts. When the book is destroyed, the emptiness ceases. But while the emptiness of the book exists, it's permanent. Okay, so that's a little bit about impermanence. Then I wanted to talk. It mentions 5 different ways of seeing impermanence. And these are not necessarily all separate ways. There's a lot of overlapping. But when you contemplate impermanence, looking at the changeable nature of things from these 5 different perspectives is very, very helpful. Okay? So the first one is the impermanence of destruction. So that applies, it refers to the annihilation of something that existed. Okay? So, for example, the Twin Towers in New York City that collapsed on September 11th, 01, that is an example of, this kind of impermanence of destruction. Something was there, boom, it wasn't. Okay. Then the second one is the impermanence of cultural trends and attitudes. Okay? And this is something, to really think about. That we all feel like we're from a certain culture. Yeah, we know that culture, we feel part of that culture. But is that culture something that always remains the same? No, it changes a lot. But we don't always realize how the culture is changing, and sometimes we resist that change. Okay? And then we get very upset when the culture is changing in a way that we don't like. Can you think of some ways Singaporean culture is changing? Yeah, I can tell you some ways. When I first came here in 1987, people were so much more relaxed. Now, people are really stressed, and there's so much competition, and the competition is normal. Yeah, and that's acceptable now. Back then, yeah, there was competition, there was pressure, but nothing like there is now. Okay, in my country, many years ago, gay marriage was not acceptable. But the culture changed, and now many people accept it. And it's legal, but some people don't like that change. Okay? So this is interesting to think about in your meditation. Yeah? About how culture is changing, and do you like do you fit in with the changes? Do you resist them? Do you like them? Do you feel uncomfortable with them? Okay, so it's quite interesting to think, and the change in culture also is, you've heard the term generation gap. Well, that's why there's a generation gap, because the culture changes. Okay? Then the third one is the impermanence of separation. And so this means that whatever comes together ceases. Okay? By its very nature, whatever comes together cannot remain together. It's going to cease. So in particular, our relationships with other people, those are things we want more than anything to be stable and secure. But those are the things that are changing all the time. And for example, death separates us from the people that we care about. Okay? Sometimes your friends move to different countries or different parts of the country. Singapore, that's difficult. You can't really get away from your friends and family here. In the US, we just move from one coast to the other. It's easy. Here, it's like, what are you going to do? Go from Geylang to Jurong? They can still find you, you know. But, you know, just the whole idea that whatever comes together is not going to last for long. You know, you go into primary 2, it's going to last for 1 year. It's not going to last forever. Okay? You have to take chemistry in secondary school, and you don't like it. That course is not going to last forever. Try and make it through at least, you know, the 1 year you have to do it. Okay? So thinking about how things that come together naturally are going to separate. Okay? And so think about this. This is actually quite important to think about, because in our life, we spend a lot of time trying to get things, thinking that once we've got this, we're always going to have it. Okay? But we aren't. Okay? So we spend a lot of time and energy trying to get money and possessions and have your own flat and get the clothes you like and so forth. But at the time we die, all that stuff stays here and we go on alone. The karma we created through attachment or anger, getting all those things, we take with us, but the objects themselves stay here. Okay, so it's important to think about this kind of impermanence, and what are we spending our time doing and trying to get? And it's also helpful to think about in terms of when our minds get really upset about something. It's like, you know, something happens at work, you know, whatever it is, and you get so upset and angry. But how long is that problem going to be a problem for you? Okay? Today's what? December 5th? Okay? So December 5th, 2018, 1 year ago, what was the problem that you obsessed about 1 year ago? Every day we have some problem that we obsess about. What was yours 1 year ago? Can you remember it? Gone. Do you remember the problem you had today? You bet. Yeah. Do you think you'll remember it on December 5th, 2020? No. So why make such a big deal about it today? If next year you're not even going to remember it, why use your precious human life getting upset about it today? Doesn't make any sense, does it? Okay. Okay. So that was the third one, the impermanence of separation. Then the fourth one is sudden impermanence. So this is when things happen very suddenly and usually unexpectedly. Okay? You get up in the morning, you get in your car, you already have the day planned out, You're stopped at a stoplight and somebody rear-ends you. Excuse me, that wasn't in my calendar for today. Yeah? Could you back up and make my car magically okay? And if you're really going to rear-end me, let's schedule it. So I'm not where it's going to happen. Okay? But every day things happen that weren't included in the plan or our imagination of the day when we woke up. Yeah? It's very interesting to watch this. And I have a little slogan, okay, which is, as soon as you have a plan, you know what will not happen. Okay? My teacher who taught me that was Amazopa Rinpoche, because I think some of you know that whenever Rinpoche is teaching, you're not quite sure when it's going to start and when it's going to finish, right? It's supposed to start at 7 in the evening and end at 9. And it starts at 11 in the evening, it ends at 3, and then he dedicates the merit until 4:30 in the morning. Okay? True or not true? Oh, I better not ask that. Excuse me, Rinpoche. But that's how I really learned, you know. You have a plan, you have an idea. Is that what's going to happen? Forget it. And yet, we see when we have an idea of what's going to happen and then something changes, we get really upset. Yeah? You have your day all planned out, what you're going to accomplish at work, you know, written on your phone or on a, well, you don't use paper anymore. Written on your phone of everything you're going to do in the order you're going to do it in, and then, 15 minutes after you arrive at your workplace, something happens and your whole day has to change. Yeah, and you go, why am I working at this creepy company? Why can't they stick to the original schedule? It drives me crazy that they change everything so much. Why do we get upset when we should know to expect this? Yeah, shouldn't we expect change? Yeah, if we're smart. But sometimes we're not so smart. Yeah, and I know at the Abbey where I live, people move there and they're happy as monastics, but they too have an idea of how their day is going to go, and then something happens and it doesn't go that way. And they get so, right? And yet, this is the way life is, isn't it? Yeah? You have it all planned out. You have a babysitter. You're going to go out with your partner and spend some time alone, and the kids are going to be at home with the babysitter and have a good time. And then the babysitter gets sick. Okay? But we should expect this kind of stuff. Okay? So that's the fourth one, sudden impermanence. And so some things it's easy to adjust to when they change suddenly. Some things are not very easy to adjust to. Yeah? In my country, we have many mass shootings. You people are so fortunate that you live in a country where there are laws so that nobody possesses guns. Yeah, only maybe the police, but other people are not allowed. In my country, you can just go down anywhere, buy a gun, and then we have mass shootings. Somebody flips out psychologically, and they just go into a school or a workplace or, wherever. And those kind of examples of sudden impermanence are really difficult to handle, When you go to school in the morning, you never think that by the end of the day some of your classmates are going to be in pools of blood. So, some things we can adjust to easily. Some sudden changes are really much more difficult. Okay, the fifth one is the nature of impermanence. And this refers to what I said at the beginning, that everything that arises due to causes and conditions has in its very nature a transient nature. Nothing needs to come from the outside to, for example, make us age. Yeah? Are you older than you were yesterday? Do you feel older than you were yesterday? Or do you feel kind of about the same as you were yesterday? Yeah. So often, we just feel, I'm the same person, everything's the same, my health is the way it is. But actually, we're aging moment by moment, and there's nothing from outside that needs to come in that makes the aging happen. It's just the nature of the body. Okay? And that's why we can't stop aging. And that's why all the people who try and, think that somehow they can prevent getting old are really deluded. Yeah? And it becomes the lack of acceptance of impermanence causes us great pain. The impermanence doesn't have to be so difficult. Some impermanence is, some isn't. But what really makes impermanence difficult is when we refuse to accept it. Okay? Your family heirloom that's been in the family for 500 years, gets lost. And then we freak out. And yet, this is the nature of everything. What comes together is going to separate. When we reject that, when someone dies and we freak out with grief, we are rejecting impermanence. So if you're going to have a battle between how I think things should be and the reality of impermanence, what's going to win? The reality of impermanence is going to win, isn't it? The way I want things to be, the way I expect things to be, the way I think things should be, don't count for anything. The reality is things change, and we can't stop it. Okay? So, given that we are impermanent phenomena and we're changing in every moment, we can't stop the change. We can't stop the aging process. But since everything's changing, we can at least try to make it change in a good way, which means practicing Dharma in each moment as much as we can. Okay? It doesn't mean enjoy all your sense pleasures as much as you can, because they come, go. It means really integrate the Dharma into your life and practice it as much as you can in each succeeding moment. Yeah? And that way you create a lot of merit and you really transform your mind. Okay? So with that, we finished the second of the 4 ways to transform, of the 4 ways that attract us to the Dharma. Okay, so the third one is karma. Okay, karma and its effects. So karma means action, in particular intentional action. Action that we've had an intention to do. And there's many systems of cause and effect, okay? Physical, the one in physics, biology, chemistry, psychology. And karma and its effects is one system among many different kinds of systems of cause and effect. And what it means is that our actions and our thoughts have an ethical dimension, and they will influence what we're reborn as in a future life, what we experience in our future lives, our habitual tendencies in future lives, and the place where we live. Okay, where we live, where we're born, where we live the rest of our life, and so on. Okay? Karma, so karma influences all that. Karma, we have to distinguish between the system of karma and some of the physical systems of cause and effect. So, for example, karma will make our mind stream attracted to take birth inside a certain zygote, a certain unity of a sperm and an egg. But karma does not create the sperm and the egg and make them come together. That's a biological process. Okay? We live in a place that is very hot. Yeah? Karma is what makes us live here, is what causes us to live here. But karma is not what makes Singapore hot. Okay? The sun is, and your climate is. Okay? So we have to differentiate these things, yeah? Karma is not the cause of everything, yeah? But it can influence a wide variety of things, yeah? And so it means that, that in each moment of our lives, we are experiencing the results of previous actions that we've done. And in each moment of our lives, we're creating the causes for future experiences. Okay, so we live right in the middle, imbued by cause and condition and impermanence. And this is the nature of it. Okay? So when I talk about, accepting impermanence and using the fact that things are changing every moment to our advantage, that one way to think of that is by trying to create good karma in each moment. Okay? And at least avoid negative karma. So the chief element in that determines the virtue or non-virtue of any action, the chief, not the only element, but the chief element is our intention. Okay? And we have a mental factor of intention, and then together with that mental factor of intention, there are other minds that may come. Yeah? Like anger. So in one mental state, There's among many different mental factors. There's intention and there's anger. Okay. Oh, then what kind of karma is that going to create? If we get really mad and we act it out physically, it creates physical karma. If we're really mad and we blast somebody with our words, that's verbal karma. Mental karma is we're mad and we sit there and we plan how to get our revenge. You know, how to give that person a taste of their own medicine. How to make them see that what they did really hurt me. Okay? So you can do that in a meditation session. You don't have to talk. You don't have to move your body. You can sit there. I can't stand this person. Oh, what can I do to tell them, to show them that what they did to me was wrong? Oh. You know, and you sit and roast it on it for a while. You ever done that in your meditation session? No? Oh boy, you're special. I can spend a whole meditation session. You know, that person hurt my feelings. Why did they treat me this way? Don't they understand what they're doing? They're such an idiot. Why did I trust them to start with? You know? I can do a whole session that way. And then due to this merit, yeah. It's more pleasant to do a whole meditation session on attachment. Okay. Yeah. When you do a whole session on anger, you don't really feel so good afterwards. But attachment, you know, there I'm visualizing Chenrezig. Oh, Chenrezig's so beautiful. My boyfriend is more beautiful. Oh, I'm visualizing, well, we're on the beach. Okay, Chenrezig's there, but my boyfriend is there too. Oh, and we're eating Haagen-Dazs chocolate fudge ice cream. Oh, you know, and you daydream your whole meditation session. Yeah, you ever done that? No, you haven't done that either. This lady is close to enlightenment. Yeah. Yeah. How about the rest of you? You ever spend a whole session on attachment? Daydreaming, planning. How about your planning meditations? Okay. I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that. And especially, you know, I'm at this retreat and I'm meditating, and so what am I going to meditate on the next meditation session? Because I'm rotating through the Lam-Rim subjects, so this session I'm doing Precious Human Life. Next session, which meditation am I going to do? Well, actually, you know, I like these meditation retreats. I read that there's another one by another Dharma center that's going to, you know, start next week. And so maybe I can go and do that retreat too. That's really good. But, you know, my teacher also told me I need to study more before I meditate. So, they have this really excellent Dharma study program in, which country was it? Oh, Iceland. I'll go to Iceland, do the Buddhist study program there. But they also have another really good one in Mozambique. Maybe I should go there. I wonder what Mozambique is like. Do they have can you go on a safari in Mozambique also? Oh, I've got to get back to my meditation. So where am I going to do my future Dharma studies? You know, okay, well, next year I can study here. The year after I can do retreat. Then the year after I'll go to the Geshe studies. Then after that I'm going to do a 3-year retreat. Okay, then after that, maybe I'll go and get a PhD in Buddhist studies. And then after that, you know, and okay? So you're planning your whole Buddhist education path to enlightenment. Yeah? Instead of concentrating on your object of meditation for the session that you're doing. She doesn't do that. Okay? Yeah? I've done that. Have you done that? I'm not asking you. Okay. So all of this creates karma. It creates karma. We're going to experience the result of our karma. Why do we take the 5 precepts? Yeah? Do we take the 5 precepts because we like to have laws? You can't do this and you can't do that. You can't do the other thing. Now I have something to rebel against. Okay. Is that why you take precepts, so you can rebel? Why do we take precepts? Because we know we have bad habits. We know that we have tendencies to act in inappropriate, negative ways. And we don't want to. And we know if we take a precept in the presence of the Buddha, in the presence of our Dharma teacher, that will give us a lot of inner strength to abandon doing those actions. Okay? So we take the precepts voluntarily. No one is forcing you. Yeah? And we take the precepts because we can't keep them perfectly. If we could keep them 100% perfectly, we don't need to take them. Yeah, the precepts help us train our mind. They are trainings that help us become more aware of what we're thinking and feeling, what we're saying, what we're doing. Okay? And every moment that we keep a precept, every moment we're not breaking it, even you're asleep, you're accumulating merit. So there could be 2 people in this room. You know, one has the precept not to kill, the other one doesn't. Hopefully neither of you are killing right now. The person who has the precept is creating merit, just sitting here because they're keeping the precept to abandon killing. The other person who doesn't have the precept isn't killing, but they're not creating the merit of not killing because they don't have that intention. Okay? So keeping the precepts also helps us accumulate merit quite a lot. Yeah? And that merit acts as the basis that supports us in our practice. Okay? So, the Buddha recommended 10 actions for us to abandon. Some of you have been studying a long time. First one. Are you talking like this? Can't you say things out loud if you're sure of what you're saying? What's the first one to abandon? Killing. Say it. Killing. What's the second one? Stealing. Third one. Yeah, sexual misconduct or unwise and unkind sexual behavior. Fourth one. Lying. Are you sure? What's the fourth one? It's lying, isn't it? But you said lying. You need to say lying. You know, like what is doing in Washington, D.C. I'm not mentioning names, but you know that guy. Okay, what's the one after lying? What are we on? The fifth one. Divisive speech. Sixth one. Harsh speech. Sixth one. Seventh one. Idle talk. Eighth one. Covetousness. Ninth one. Malice. 10th one. Wrong views. Okay. So remember those and try not to do them. And if you do them, do purification. Okay. What are the 4 opponent powers for purification? Right? Okay. Hello? Okay, what's the first one? Regret. Okay. Then you can talk about reliance. What are you relying on? Huh? 3 jewels, and what else? When your reliance means that you cultivate a positive attitude towards whoever or whatever it was that you had a negative attitude that made you do the non-virtuous actions. Okay? So if we harm the 3 jewels, let's say stealing the offerings, you want those fake flowers? Yeah? Buddha doesn't even have some apples and oranges. Are they up where I can't see them? Oh, okay. So you take the apples and oranges that somebody offered to the Buddha, okay? So you need to take refuge, rely on whoever, whatever it was, but with a different attitude. And what else, in addition to the 3 jewels, do we usually act negatively towards? Sentient beings. So what do we do to change our attitude about sentient beings? I'm going to tell Geshe Chuni on you. Huh? What? Yes! Generate bodhicitta, hooray. Okay, so first we regret the action, then we change our attitude, so we take refuge, we generate bodhicitta, then, I don't have my hearing aids tonight. Remedy. What's an example of a remedy? What? You can recite mantra. What else can you do? You can do 35 Buddhas. What else can you do? Vajrasattva. Okay, you can do volunteer work. Yeah, any kind of virtuous actions. And what's the last one? Yeah, a promise or some determination not to do the action again. So these 4 are very important that you remember and that you practice. If you can't remember them, how are you going to practice them? Okay, so regretting our negativity, generating bodhicitta, and taking refuge, doing some kind of virtuous practice, and making a determination not to do the action, at least for some period of time. Okay? So very important. Okay, so I had thought that everybody was fairly well versed in karma, and that I would do some more difficult things in karma, not difficult, but things you hadn't heard of before. But now I'm wondering. Okay, let's try. Okay, here's one. This is what the factors that make a karma, an action, heavy. Okay, this is important to know. Yeah, because karma can be light or it can be heavy. The heavier it is, the stronger the result is going to be, or the more long-lasting the result is going to be. So when we do an action, there are several variables in the action that influence whether the karma is heavy or light. And it's very helpful to be aware of these, because then when we're doing something virtuous, we know how to make it strong, and a heavy, strong, virtuous action. And when somehow we're caught up in non-virtue, if we remember these factors, we can at least moderate the non-virtue that we're creating. Okay? So, Tsongkhapa talked about 5 criteria for things that making destructive actions heavy, and this goes for constructive ones too. So the first one is the strength of our attitude. Okay? So in a negative way, it's like you really want to hurt somebody by lying. You know, it's a strong negative karma, versus it's just a small lie that, you know, you didn't have a strong intention about. In terms of virtue, you really have a strong wish to benefit sentient beings, yeah, versus, you know, just kind of wishy-washy. Okay, so the strength of our attitude. Second one is the method of doing the action. Okay, so this means, are we doing the action repeatedly? Because if we do the action many times, it becomes heavier. Are we doing the action ourselves, or are we asking somebody else to do it? If we do it ourselves, it's going to be heavier. Okay? So when you're making offerings, as much as you can, make them with your own hands rather than tell somebody else to do it. But if you have a friend going to Bodh Gaya, you can give them something to offer for you in Bodh Gaya, because they're going to be there and you're not. Okay? The method of doing it also includes whether you know, you're really, you're so happy about doing it. You know, you really relish doing it. So that can be for a constructive action or a destructive action. Third factor is the lack of an antidote. So if we, okay, so he says here, examples include whether the person does little, if any, constructive actions at other times, if they repeatedly engage in harmful actions, if they're not interested in avoiding harmful actions or purifying them. So all this kind of thing is the lack of an antidote. In other words, you don't do much virtue in your life, yeah? And having done something non-virtuous, you don't apply those 4 opponent powers. You just say, well, I didn't get caught, it doesn't matter. Let's go on. That's not so good. That's not a good way to think. Okay, the 4th one is holding wrong views. So that makes the action heavier than if you do it with just ordinary ignorance or confusion. So, okay, so for example, if you euthanize an animal thinking that there's no such thing as rebirth and you're just putting it out of its suffering completely because there's no rebirth. Okay? So that's doing that action with a wrong view. Okay? Animal sacrifice. Doing an action with a wrong view, not thinking that that creates merit. Okay, so those kind of things. Then the 5th thing is that the object of our action is very important. So actions we do in relationship to our spiritual mentor, in relationship to the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, are much stronger because of their virtue. Actions we do in relation to our parents is stronger because of their kindness to us. Actions we do towards the poor or the infirm is stronger because of their suffering. Okay? So, who we criticize, who we praise, the object is very strong. Okay? So those make actions, when those 5 factors are intense, then it makes the karma heavier. There's also other factors that can make an action heavier. One is frequency. For example, you lose your temper very often. Anybody do that? Oh, 2 people who are honest. 3, 4, 5. Oh, finally some people who are honest. Okay, yeah, we lose our temper often. We do an action frequently. It makes the action stronger. Yeah? If in the morning you make offerings on your altar, that makes the virtue of making offerings stronger. Okay, regretting, can influence whether the action is strong or weak. If we sincerely regret our negative actions, it really weakens them, the effect. If we regret our positive actions, like, why did I give that offering? I should have kept the money. I could have gone to Bali on vacation with it. So you regret your negative or your virtuous actions, then that also makes, really affects. Rejoicing at our actions can affect it too. If we rejoice, I told that person off. Ooh, I'm so glad they're hurt, and you feel so good because you embarrass somebody or hurt their feelings. That makes it stronger non-virtue. Okay? If you have a strong motivation to assist somebody, or a strong feeling of compassion, or a strong wish for awakening, then that makes the action stronger too. Okay? Constructive actions by people who hold precepts are stronger than constructive actions done by people who don't hold precepts. So that's what I just described. Acting out of ignorance is lighter when we do the action with awareness of the karmic consequences of our action. Okay? Acting out of ignorance when you know about karma makes the action lighter. Let's read this paragraph. Acting out of ignorance is lighter than doing the action with awareness of the karmic consequences of our action. So if we're aware of the karmic consequences, that makes it heavier than if we aren't aware of it, okay? So young children swatting insects without understanding that killing is harmful is not as heavy as the same action done by somebody who knows that killing is non-virtuous. Okay? Mental illness also affects the strength of the karma. So you find in the Vinaya, the monastic code of discipline, with the precepts, if somebody breaks a precept and they're mentally ill at the time of doing that action, it's not considered a break because they were, as we say, out of their mind. They didn't understand what they were doing when they did the action. Okay. Then the general mental constitution of a person. Okay. So again, here it's like if a person has accumulated a lot of virtue, if they do a non-virtuous action, it's not going to be as strong because they have so many virtuous imprints in their mind. If a person who's done a lot of non-virtue does another non-virtue, it becomes stronger because they have so many non-virtuous imprints in their mind already. So the example is like if you put salt in a cup with just a little bit of water, it's going to be real salty. Whereas if you put salt in, a gallon of water, a little bit of salt, you won't taste it, okay? So these kinds of things. So, why don't we pause here? We've got through 3 1/4 of the 4. Yeah, and have some time for questions and maybe answers.
Hello. Hi. Venerable, since intention and feeling, they are both the omnipresent mental factors, does that mean every moment we are creating karma and every moment we are experiencing the results? That sounds very scary though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of scary, isn't it? I think a lot of the time the actions are neutral. They're done without any particular motivation here or there. So, or the actions are very, very weak. Yeah. So, actually, Venerable Thubten Chodron wrote me that question a few days ago. So, interesting, same question, it comes up here. So I think, that it's just a lot of actions are neutral. Yeah, you're sweeping the floor. Are you creating karma? Yeah, you're just, but you don't have any particular intention. You're just, sweeping the floor. And so this is how, in the thought training practice, we can change many neutral actions to virtuous actions by thinking, instead of just mindlessly cleaning the floor, thinking I'm sweeping away the defilements of sentient beings. Okay?
Venerable, just now I mentioned about the 5 heinous actions, right? And one of them is killing parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but how would actually killing sentient beings will be actually lesser in terms of heinous action compared to parents, because they also our past life parents?
Yeah, because in this life we're talking about our parents of this life, so their kindness to us is much more noticeable in our life and in our mind. Okay, so when people have been very kind to us, if we return that kindness with kindness, it's really appropriate. If we return that kindness with some kind of horrible action, then it's going to be much stronger than doing that same action towards a stranger who, at least in this life, hasn't been kind to us in a way that we've really noticed. Yeah.
Venerable, I'd like to check with you, because since we exist since beginner's time, now at any one point of time, any one point of moment, a person can actually experience infinite number of karma manifesting, right?
I'm not.
No, let's say one, it can be, because we've created a lot of karma since beginner's time, so at any one moment, we can experience infinite numbers of karma at one point, at one moment.
Yes, because there's a lot of karmas from different lifetimes that are that can ripen at the same time. So, for example, in a previous life, you created ethical conduct, so you have a human body now. Okay? You also practice generosity because you ate dinner before you came here, or at least you ate sometime today. Okay? So that karma, the ethical conduct is ripening, the generosity karma is ripening. You chose to come to Dharma teachings. That was probably created because in the past you had faith in the Dharma. So that karma is ripening at this moment also. Yeah, maybe your knees hurt sitting here. Well, that's the ripening of a non-virtuous karma. Okay, so in any particular situation, there's many, many karmas that are ripening. Okay?
But with this infinite number of karmas ripening, is it possible? Infinite number, since it's a beginner's time. At one moment.
In one moment? Please ask the Buddha that one. Okay? And I'll prove it. Why you should ask the Buddha, I will tell you. Okay? Where is it? I will read this passage to you. Okay. Okay, so this is His Holiness. The law of karma and its effects is very subtle, and its intricacies are beyond our understanding. Only an omniscient Buddha is able to know these fully. Since the Buddha is not present here and now, we cannot ask him for clarification regarding the subtle aspects of karma. Okay, so Buddhaghosa, who was a Pali scholar, said the cessation of karma and its effects is clear in its true nature only to the Buddha's knowledge of karma and its result, which knowledge is not shared by disciples. And Vasubandhu agreed, saying nobody but the Buddha understands in its entirety karma, its infusion, its activity, and the fruit that is obtained. So that's my excuse for saying I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you, Venerable. The question is on the resolve not to do again for purification. So I made the resolve not to do again, but I still do again. Then I end up making like no end to the purification. That's only for one thing I did. Then if I think that I have made other non-virtuous action in the past, then sometimes I feel like I cannot catch up at all. then thinking that, right, I think create even more negativity.
Okay.
Then it's like,
Okay, so there's a way out of this conundrum. Instead of saying, I will never do it forever, when you know that you really aren't capable of doing that yet, say, pick a period of time, you know, oh, for the next day I won't gossip, okay? Yeah, or whatever it is. So set yourself a period of time that you can be really careful in that period of time. Yeah, and then that gives you some confidence about being able to abandon that action, at least for some time. And you know, and then later, next time you do it, maybe you can say, okay, I won't do it for 2 days, and see how that works. Okay? Yeah.
Hello, Venerable. Just now you mentioned about planning our Dharma activities, right? I have these questions on, for example, let's say there's a teaching by you today, and there's also a teaching by another Dharma centers. How do you know which are the correct
Oh, you should
teaching
come
we
to
should
my
follow?
teaching.
Just follow our heart, or do we just, is there like certain criteria that we should follow?
If there's multiple teaching, I mean, what a problem to have. You can't choose which Dharma teaching to go to. May all sentient beings have that problem. Yeah? What a wonderful problem to have. So, just think about, which, if you're doing a series of a class, try and go to every class in the series instead of here and there, because if you miss a lot of classes, you won't have the full weight of what you're learning. Other than that, just see which teacher is teaching, which teacher you feel close to, or what the topic is, or I don't know. Yeah? Anything else? Oh, everything was completely clear, huh? Yeah. This is your time to ask questions. Don't make a line afterwards to ask your questions, because if you have a question, chances are other people in the room have the same question. Okay.
Venerable, I am a teacher who teach students with special needs. Sometimes my students couldn't control themselves. They hurt themselves or they hurt others who may not have done anything wrong to them. So is it our karma actions? And also, how can we as Buddhists help them?
Okay, so for kids who are special needs kids, maybe because of some illness or some very heavy karma ripening that they're experiencing, I would think if it's due to an illness, a mental illness or a physical illness, they're creating karma, but it wouldn't be as heavy as somebody with a very clear mind who knows exactly what they're doing and wants to do it. Yeah, it wouldn't be as intense. How to help those kids? I would think, give them bite-sized things to do, kind of like, okay, for the next 15 minutes, let's everybody keep their hands to themselves. Give them small things that they can accomplish, and then when they accomplish it, point it out to them. Oh look, you did that 15 minutes, that's good, don't you feel good? I'm proud of you, and like that. I think always, and this goes for ourselves when we're trying to change our own bad behavior, give ourselves something practical that we can be successful in doing, instead of creating the bar of, from now on I'm going to meditate 6 hours a day without distraction. Really? Kind of from now on I'm going to meditate, I'll meditate this morning 6 seconds without distraction. Give ourselves bite-sized things that we can accomplish. And then specifically notice and point out to ourselves, oh, I said I was going to do that and I succeeded. Because that way we build up our confidence that we're capable of doing something.
Venerable, just need some clarification. Because just now you mentioned about when a Buddhist have taken a precept and when they do the same action as someone that doesn't have precepts, they will gather merits. And so I was wondering inside my mind, so does it mean that non-Buddhists or people that do not take precepts will not gather merits?
No, it doesn't mean that. It just means that every moment you're keeping the precept, you're accumulating merit. Okay? But people who are not Buddhists, a lot of them accumulate merit, don't they? They're kind, they practice love and forgiveness and compassion, and you don't have to be a Buddhist to create merit.
Second question. Okay, to me, just now we were talking about the 10 akusala action. The first one is killing. And to me, I think akusala action is non-virtuous, means it's killing, it's killing. Some people have this view, I'm not sure if this is a correct view, that euthanizing with compassion will not get. You know the story, the questions.
I hear the stories a lot.
Yeah.
We asked Lama Yeshe that question, and he said, if you know if you have the powers where you can see where your dog, for example, is going to be reborn, and you know that by euthanizing it, it will be reborn in a higher rebirth or with less suffering, then you can euthanize it. But if you don't know where it's going to be reborn and what it's going to experience, then better not.
Follow-up question. Since the dog cannot verbalize in human language, what happens if I flip the switch to a human that requests for it?
Okay, so nowadays they're really asking us all to do advanced directives. And I think that's excellent, really, really good to do, because then each of us, we may have different wishes. We can express our wishes, and then the doctors have to do that. And that saves our relatives having to make those kinds of decisions. Yeah, because we don't want to make that kind of decision for anybody. Yeah, so it's better to try, get your family members and you yourself, even if you're young and you think you're not going to die, you don't know when you're going to die, so make an advance directive and, and then you can specify what you want, not only in terms of medical care, but you can also write down, if you want certain teachers notified or certain practices done. Yeah? So it just makes it so much easier for everybody. Okay.
Venerable, can I please ask you to elaborate more on that permanence aspect that you spoke about earlier? You talked about impermanence, and you said some things are permanent. I didn't quite understand that. Could you elaborate?
Okay. Yeah, so there are some things that do not change moment by moment due to causes and conditions. Yeah, so the example that's usually given is unconditioned space. So unconditioned space is the lack of obstruction that exists everywhere. Okay? That lack of obstruction was not created. Yeah, you didn't put, kind of 2 gallons of paint together with something else and it produced it. It's just the absence of obstruction. So that absence of obstruction doesn't change. Okay? So like that. Yeah? But all functioning things that arise due to causes and conditions, they're impermanent and they change moment by moment.
Hi, Venerable. Sorry, this is a bit difficult for me to share, but I really need some advice on something that happened yesterday. I'll keep it short.
If it's a personal situation,
I'll keep it general, maybe. Okay,
yeah,
or should I?
But even if it's general,
Yep.
if I answer a general question,
Okay.
but you're thinking about a specific situation,
Okay.
my advice may not fit
Sure.
the situation you're
Okay.
thinking about.
Then should I not ask?
It's probably better not to, because if
Okay.
you ask me, I don't know the people involved. Yeah. If you ask me how to work with your mind and tell me what defilement you're struggling
Yes.
with,
Yeah, it is.
that I can answer.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
good.
I'll just proceed to ask, and if you feel like this is not a fair question, then we can just call it off.
Okay, but
Is
you
that fair
have to
enough?
explain the situation
Sure.
in 5 sentences, no longer.
Okay, no problem.
Okay?
I got you. Okay. After deliberation, I decided to get mental health treatment for my family member. It was with good intention, and it was based on my clinical judgment and a lot of deliberation. At that moment when it happened,
What happened?
when he got, it involves restraint, and I got to send him to the hospital by ambulance. So when it happened, I can see a lot of hatred in his eyes, and he was telling me that, this is a 4th sentence. He was telling me that, I hate you, you are going to be responsible for everything that's going to happen after this. So I guess my question is, it's general in the sense that, what can I do to, I'm guessing like what I can do to. That's definitely negative karma created, even though it's. I mean, that's my thought. So what can I do?
Okay. Did you act with a good motivation?
I did, based on my judgment and deliberation.
Okay.
So
did he suffer physically at all?
Sorry.
Or put it this way.
Okay.
By his being restrained and going to the hospital, even though he didn't like it, did it benefit him?
Well, the doctor agreed that it was a good thing that I did that.
Okay.
So
then why are you doubting yourself?
I guess it's because I feel, I may be wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that could be like negative karma created. So I'm just trying to rectify the situation or repent.
What negative karma could you have created?
Because it's a very close family member and it's a parent.
Yeah, but what's the negative karma you created? What did you do with a harmful intention that harmed another sentient being?
Oh well, I guess it's from his perspective that, like I did something wrong.
Okay? This is what's called feeling guilty when you didn't do anything wrong. Okay? Somebody criticized you. They said all sorts of spiteful words towards you. Of course, what are they going to say? If they're mentally ill and they need to be restrained, are they going to say, oh, thank you very much? No. If they're ill like that and they need to be restrained for their own safety or for the safety of other people, yeah, of course they're going to resist. Yeah, but you used your own good judgment to try and protect that person and to try and protect other people who could have been harmed. And the doctor agreed with you that what you did is good. So you don't need to doubt yourself. Yeah, if you had the intention, oh, I can't stand this parent, I want to see them, in restraints, hospitalize them so they're out of the house and they stop bothering me because they're driving me crazy and I can't stand them. Then, okay, maybe there was some negativity there, okay? But if you're doing something to the best of your ability to calm a disruptive situation, even if somebody doesn't like it, yeah, it's still an action that you did out of compassion. That's good.
Thank you, Venerable, for your time. Thank you.
Yeah? So just because people don't like what we do doesn't mean we created a negative action. Okay? We often, when somebody doesn't like what we do, we instantly start doubting ourselves. Okay? Instead of doubting ourselves, we need to stop and ask ourselves, what was my motivation? And be very honest about that. What was my motivation? Were there other alternatives that could have been better? But if we acted the best we could, not everybody in the world is going to like us all the time. And just because somebody doesn't like us doesn't mean that we did something wrong. And just because somebody likes us doesn't mean our action is virtuous. Because we know how to get other people to like us with a conniving, manipulating mind, don't we? Yeah. People can react to us, oh, you're so kind, you're so wonderful. Our intention, oh, now I got them wrapped around my little finger. Okay? So our action is in fact negative, but the person we did it to thinks we're wonderful. Okay? Or another action, you know, when your kids are quarreling, yeah, and you have to step in. If you're angry and you yell and scream at your kids, okay, that's negative. But if you step in to keep, you know, your kids from clobbering each other, even though they cry because you separate them and, you know, make them take a time out or whatever, is what you did negative? Is it better that you should have just let your kids clobber each other until one of them blacked out? Yeah? When you're raising kids, you know, and you have a child that just says, I want this, I want that. Susie has this, why can't I have it? Joey has it, I want this, give me that. You know, and when you say no, does that mean you're an awful parent? Yes? It means you're an awful parent? Does giving your kid everything they want mean you're a good parent? No, you're going to raise up a brat who's not going to be able to function in society because they think every time they whine and cry, people should do what they want because that's what mom and dad did. Okay? So just because people aren't happy with our actions doesn't mean what we did was negative. We have to look at our motivation and look at the circumstance. Okay? Okay, this will be the last question. No, go ahead.
Venerable, if a person meets a car accident, does it mean the negative karma is ripening?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, you can still answer yours.
Okay, I think human minds are very complex. I mean, we are very complex sometimes. So sometimes when we are making this decision at that very moment, probably we are influenced by the emotions or our experience and things like that. We made the decision thinking that this is the best out of the situation. But maybe a few years' time or a few months' time,
yes,
we start to realize that that wasn't the best.
Yes.
It was a decision that's influenced by our emotions,
yes,
or our experience,
yeah,
but not the best for the situation. So how do we consider, is that decision considered innocent one? I mean, not really innocent, what do we call that?
If you did a non-virtuous action, but at the time you thought it was virtuous, and it wasn't only until a few years later that you realized, boy, I really had a bad motivation, the action was still non-virtuous. Yeah.
Okay, I would not probably link it to such virtuous or not virtuous. It's just probably a decision, just like I think just now she shared about the situation.
Yeah.
You need to make a decision there and then.
Yeah.
So we really don't know what is best, but I could have made the decision because I was affected emotionally,
yeah,
or due to my own experience.
Right.
But it might not be the best for that situation at that time.
Yeah.
So how do we consider this
okay,
motivation or intention of making that decision?
So within a decision, we can say non-virtuous and unvirtuous. Within non-virtue, there's different degrees. Within a good decision, a virtuous decision, there's different degrees. You may have made the decision, you know, to do something out of emotion. Yeah, that was degree 3 of non-virtue. Okay, but you thought it was degree 3 of virtue. It's still degree 3 of non-virtue. You don't accumulate the karma of non-virtue degree 5 because that's not what you did. You only did degree 3. Actually, there's no degrees like this. I'm just trying to give you some kind of, you know, example. Yeah, what I did could have been worse. That's true, it could have been worse. But I don't accumulate the negativity of it could have been worse. I accumulate the negativity of what I did. Okay? Even at the time, if I thought, oh, this is a fantastic decision. Okay. But I don't know about the rest of you. I know you haven't. But, you know, some of us, I know for myself, sometimes, you know, it's only maybe a year, 2, 3, 4. Later, I look back on something I did and I go, boy, that was not very smart, you know? But at the time, I thought it was okay, but now I see it wasn't very smart. So I purify now. Okay? Okay. So, my robe. They make these robes for men. Yeah, I'm not that big. So it always falls off. Okay, let's spend a couple of minutes just reviewing what we learned today so that you can take it home and think about it some more. And then we'll dedicate the merit. And then let's dedicate.
Due to this merit, may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May the born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
Okay, so tomorrow we'll be at Buddhist Fellowship West. And then over the weekend at Pure Land. And Sunday afternoon at Buddhist Library. For people here at ABC, you have a fantastic teacher in Geshe Chuni. So when he is here, please take advantage and attend classes. Yeah, don't take the presence of a good teacher for granted.